Hello, and welcome to another episode of Human Centered Experience. I'm your host, Hitesh, and today we're going to talk about a question that I get asked a lot. What is service design? We'll pull back the curtain on a discipline that many organizations think they understand, but few truly master. Imagine a customer interacts with your brand. They love your app. It's sleek, it's fast, and intuitive. But then they need to return a product. Suddenly, they're trapped in a loop of contradictory emails, long wait times on the phone, and a retail clerk who has no record of their online transaction. The app was designed beautifully, the product was designed excellent, but the service was just an accident. In today's market, where products are commoditized within months, the only durable competitive advantage is the orchestration of entire experience. Today, we're going to discuss why service design is the invisible infrastructure of your business, the mental frameworks required to lead it, and the strategic artifacts like the SCIPAB model that you need to get your board on board. Now, let's start with a definition. The user experience, or UX in short, is the interaction between a person and a touch point, like a screen or a physical product. Service design, on the other hand, is the orchestration of all these touch points. Think of it as a theater production. The front stage is what the audience sees, the lighting, the actors, the set. In business, this is your website, your staff, and your packaging. The backstage is everything the audience doesn't see. The stage hands, the script, the costume changes. In business, this is your CRM, your supply chain, and your internal culture. If the backstage is in chaos, the front stage performance will eventually fail. Or how I like to call it, broken processes deliver broken experiences. Take the airline industry as an example. When a flight is delayed, the product, the seat on the plane is broken. But the service is how the airline handles the next 4 hours. Is the gate agent empowered with data? Does the app update in real time? Is the rebooking process automated? Service design is what ensures that even when the product fails, the brand relationship stays intact. To manage this complexity, we need to move beyond traditional project management. We use 2 primary mental models. First, systems thinking. As leaders, we are taught to optimize silos. We want the most efficient marketing department, the fastest IT team. But systems thinking teaches us that a service is an interconnected web. If you optimize one part of the system in isolation, you might break another. For instance, if a retail giant introduces order online, pick up in store to please customers, but fails to train the floor staff or adjust inventory logic, they haven't created a service. They've created a bottleneck. Systems thinking allows us to map the interdependencies before we invest. Second, the double diamond. You've likely heard of this, but in a management context, it's a risk mitigation tool. First is to discover and define. We diverge to find the root cause of friction or a customer intention. Second is to develop and deliver. We develop multiple solutions and then converge on few solutions with great ROI. The biggest mistake I see in the C-suite is jumping straight to the second diamond, the solution, without truly defining the problem in depth. Service design forces us to stay in the problem space until we have the data to really act on it. Now, how do we make this tangible? We use 2 distinct types of artifacts here. First one is the service blueprint. This is our technical roadmap. Unlike a customer journey map, which only shows what the customer feels, the blueprint adds layers. It shows a line of visibility, Below that line, we map every internal process, every API call, and every employee action required to make that customer feeling a reality. It's the bridge between the design team and the operations team. And second one that I've used successfully over the years is the SCIPAB framework. A 10-foot long service blueprint is often too much for an executive briefing. This is where we use the SCIPAB model to explain our solutions. It stands for situation, where are we now? So for example, we are a leader in the retail space. What's the complication? That's the next one. What changed? So competitors are offering 2-hour delivery and our churn is rising because of that. Next is information. What did our research show? For example, data shows 40% of churn happens during the return process. And that brings me to the problem. What is the core issue? Example, a legacy logistics system doesn't talk to our customer service interface. I'm sure you've heard of some system issues earlier in your job scenarios. Action. What is the plan? Example, implement a unified service layer to bridge these silos. And then comes the benefit, of course. What is the ROI? A 15% reduction in churn and a 10% increase in lifetime value. Now, by using SCIPAB, you aren't just presenting a design idea, you're presenting a business case. Remember, service design is not only customer experience design, but also speaks the business language. Looking ahead, service design is no longer a nice to have. As AI and automation take our routine tasks, the human parts of a service will become your primary brand differentiators. In 2026 and beyond, the most resilient organizations will be those that view themselves not as sellers of products, but as providers of value within a design ecosystem. Whether you are in healthcare, fintech, or manufacturing, your service is the sum of every internal and external interaction. Thank you for joining me for this deep dive into the architecture of experience. If you found this helpful, I've posted a template of the SCIPAB framework on my LinkedIn. Feel free to connect and download those resources. Remember, if you don't design your service, your customers will design it for you, and you might not like the result. Thanks for listening to my podcast. If you found this insightful, please subscribe, share, and check out my recent article on this topic on LinkedIn. As always, feel free to get in touch with me with comments, suggestions, and ideas. I'm Hitesh, and I'll see you next time.